Hey guys, we are back with Messy on Purpose, and I have Mary here with me today who's going to do a little introduction on herself and tell you about her book, and then we are going to just dive into the conversation.
All right. Thank you for having me. So I'm Mary, and I'm a mom to four. I have three adult children and a son who is 9. I own my own business as a virtual assistant, mostly for authors. But I guess the biggest news, most recent news, is that I did write a book. I write about my life as a child who had an abusive mother, an abusive grandmother, a dad who abandoned me, and I developed dissociative identity disorder. I didn't get diagnosed with that until I was an adult. So then I guess things all started making sense. And then, I write about how I chose to break the cycle and, raise my children differently. And, I guess that's about it. That's it. That's the gist.
So do you want to kind of start from like your childhood, kind of just give us a little idea of what happened to you?
Yeah, sure. So, I have said that my mom and my stepdad were very creative in their punishments. So, to outsiders, it may not have seemed like abuse. Don't get me wrong. They also hit me and they did, terrible abusive things. But if you were to say that they made me color, people would be like, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, they would make me color for hours and hours and hours and hours. So I lived with my mom from the time I was 3 till I was 8. And then again during the summer that I was 12. And I also spent some time in some foster homes. We traveled a lot because they had difficulty paying their bills. So we moved around quite a lot. I never stayed in one place very long, so my memories of things are kind of hazy, in addition to having DID, right? So huge chunks of things are missing. But I think the biggest thing was just the constant fear that I lived with. They say people are in fight or flight mode, but I don't think that was the case for me. I think my mode was survive. There was no fight or flight. I knew I couldn't fight because that was going to cause more problems. So what do you do, right? So for me, I disassociated. So yeah, it was not fun.
I can relate in a sense. There's a lot of like my childhood too that I've almost like blacked out, like don't remember years of life.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, for a long time before I got the diagnosis, it was really difficult because you felt like you were lying, or other people thought that you were lying when they would say, oh, well, where were you living when this happened? And I would say, oh gosh, let's see, I was 8, so I must have lived here. But then they would say, well, that doesn't add up with this timeline. And I would be like, well, I'm giving you as much information as I can remember. I mean, 1, I was a little kid. 2, I was dealing with trauma. And then on top of that, I was, blacking out, so to speak.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you expect a little kid to remember everywhere you live. Even if you stayed in one area and moved house to house, they are not going to know the exact, area that they were in and how long they were in that area.
Right.
So they can't expect you with trauma built up to be able to remember that exactly.
Right. For sure. For sure. So I have a cat trying to get into something there. Okay, there we go. Got her. I'm like, you might see a cat come across. I hope not, but maybe.
Oh, that's fine. We love animals, so it's okay.
Yeah. Great.
My dog, I used to have her in here with me, and she started knocking things over because she wasn't getting attention, especially when I had in person. So now she has to get kicked out.
Yeah. Yeah, I would kick them out, but then they would just meow at the door. So I'm like, it's probably just better if you let them come in if they want. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. We're messy, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so you went through kind of a lot of therapy. When did you start the therapy to kind of try to figure out your diagnosis?
Yeah, so I actually didn't start therapy until I had my oldest daughter. And my oldest daughter is 23. So 23 years ago. I chose to go to therapy because after I had her, I wouldn't say that I was like depressed. I didn't have postpartum or any of that. It was different. I Every time I would hold her, feed her, play with her, I just felt so much grief for me, for myself, for my inner child. I would think, gosh, how could a mother treat their baby the way that I had been treated? And I couldn't get past it. And so I chose to go to therapy so that I could kind of, come to terms with that. And in talking to my therapist and, diving deep into inner child trauma, um, my therapist was like, I really think that what you're describing to me is, a disassociation. And, we all have parts, and we know this. We have the inner child, we have the inner critic, we have the ego, we have all these parts. But for some people who go through trauma, those parts, one part will stick out more than the other. And that's kind of what happens with splitting too. I don't know enough about that, so I don't want to speak on that, but mine wasn't necessarily splitting. It was just a part of me that was more of a personality. And that was my protector part. So the, inner child kind of was underneath, and the protector was the one who took over. And it makes so much sense now that, I explain it a little more in my book. Like when things go dark, that is when, the little girl doesn't remember, the protector takes over and just says, I'm going to take the brunt of this for you. And then as that evolved into me becoming an adult, the protector part was the one who, made lists and checked things off the list, right? And was like, okay, if there's a crisis, I'm going to handle it. So I never really had that childhood part. I just became an adult right away at like 7 years old. So getting a diagnosis was hard, but the protector in me was like, okay, great. Now I can research this and I can find out what this what this is. So yeah, I mean,
It was the connection with like your daughter that made you want to get some type of help. You were like, something's
yeah,
wrong and I have to fix it.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I always knew that I was going to be a different type of parent. I knew that from the get-go. But becoming a mom and realizing that there was this emotional like turmoil that I couldn't get past, I knew that if I didn't go to therapy and figure it out, that it was going to be a barrier between the type of parent that I really wanted to be. I didn't feel like I was going to be present enough, unless I at least figured it out. But I mean, it still took many more years for me to really embrace, my inner child. So, yeah, I mean, and that's even more of a story, but yeah, yeah.
Is it something that you've discussed with your kids too, like what you've gone through to try to fix things? And
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, my kids know what I went through, not, all of the details, but they do know what I went through and they know what kind of parent I am. And, I think that, I mean, they've seen me go to therapy. They know that I go to therapy. in fact, all of us have gone to therapy at different parts in our, points in our lives, because there's no shame in that. It's so important to have somebody, especially a professional, that you can talk to safely, that isn't, going to put their own, impressions on you. So, we're a pretty open family, and that's another part of like what I wanted to do differently with my kids than what, beyond the hitting. I'm not going to hit my kids. I'm not going to shame my kids. I wanted to be very open. I wanted to make sure that I was their safe place. And I think I've done a fairly decent job of that. So, they all come home for Christmas, and Thanksgiving, and we hang out and stuff. So I think I'm doing okay.
You're doing okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that you're doing the best you possibly could, right?
Right.
So a little bit about your diagnosis. Can you explain a little bit of what that really is, and like what that means to be diagnosed that way, and what you have to do to kind of work with that? Because obviously it doesn't just go away.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't. There are some coping ways, but I think that the first was just recognizing it. And again, it took me really, a long time, because my oldest daughter and my middle daughter are only 12 months apart. And then I had my third daughter, and she's just 2 years younger than the middle daughter. So very close together. And I didn't really have time to deal with inner child stuff. Nor did I don't think I was ready either. Okay, cool. I have this diagnosis. I know what it is. Okay, great. But it wasn't really until the last 2 years that I actually made the decision to talk to my inner child, which was after my dad died. And through the years, I now understand and recognize when my protector would really take over. For instance, I would get a call and they would say, so-and-so is coming to visit for a week at Christmas. And I would just go to this place of like dread, lots of anxiety, and then I would just clean. I would clean top to bottom, and then nothing was clean enough, and I would go back, and then I would start, organizing closets or whatever. And that was my disassociation, right? I was finding something else to do to get my mind off of what was happening. And we all do it. It's just to what extreme we do it, right? And so when my dad died and I went back to therapy, my therapist was like, you need to talk to little Mary. Like, you just need to do it. And that was really the catalyst for the change, and also my book, because when my dad died, it opened up a floodgate of grief like I've never, ever experienced. And I've had sad things happen, but this was little Mary saying, I need to talk.
Yeah, it was kind of like, oh yeah, you're good. Was it kind of the hit with your dad like passing? Was it something connected to that? Like almost like you never were able to like kind of mend that relationship, or maybe even forgive him while he was still alive? Or was there like something along those lines that was like a disconnect?
Yeah, for sure. When my dad passed, I had not seen him face to face for 18 years. He called me occasionally. I would text, things like that. But for the most part, nothing. And I found out that he passed away because the sheriff came to my door and told me. And it was, I think when it first happened, it was shocking. I was like, I didn't know how to behave. The the protector part of me was like, okay, call the coroner, call, the funeral home, do all the business side of it. But I kept breaking down. I kept, washing the dishes, and I would just break down and cry, or I would be watching TV and I would just break down, and not just cry. I mean, I would be sobbing. I had hit, honestly, rock bottom. I just couldn't crawl out of this grief. And I I finally went back to therapy, and I explained everything that was going on. And my therapist was like, you need to talk to little Mary. And it sounds so hokey, right? That you're going to have this conversation with yourself. But I did. And she loved her dad. I loved my dad, the part of my dad that I remember as a little girl. I looked up to him. I wanted him to love me. I wanted him to accept me. So when he died, it was final, right? I knew I was never going to have that. So that, that definitely was the reason why it all happened. It was pretty powerful. Hard, but powerful.
Do you still have your mom?
No. No. My mom is alive, but I haven't seen her since I was 12. And she has tried to reach out to me a few times, but she is not willing to account for what she did or what my stepdad did. And the last time that she messaged me, which actually was pretty recently, because she found out that my dad passed and she reached out to me, and I ignored the message. But she sent me another message that was like, don't you think it's time you loved me unconditionally? And so I blocked her again. So no, I mean, she's alive. I know she's out there, but we have not had any kind of relationship since I was 12. So
is that something you've kind of made peace with? Like, if she were to pass away, it's just kind of like you've made peace that the relationship is what it is.
I have, however, I know myself, and I know that her passing will, I will be sad. I thought for a long time that I wouldn't be, that I would just be like, whatever. But nobody wants someone else's candle to be snuffed, no matter who they are. It's just a life is a life. And it's just sad that she made the choices that she did. And I hope that when she does pass, that she finds some peace. And I know that I will probably have to go to my therapist and talk some more. But it won't be, I don't think it will be as tragic as it was with my dad. Probably because I wrote my book, right? Because I went through, that was kind of therapeutic for me. And my inner child got to say so much about both parents and, everything. So, yeah.
So let's talk about your book a little bit. What led up to writing this book? So you started working on yourself. It's only been in the last few years that you've really dived in, but what led up to writing a book? Because writing a book is a big commitment. Like, I don't even know if I could commit personally to writing a book. Like, I don't know. It's just not I don't think sitting down and actually writing a book would even work for me. So I'm curious on what brought you to that point where you're like,
Yeah.
I have to write a book.
Yeah. I had always toyed with the idea because people who hear my story, there's so many quirky things about it. Aside from the fact that, my mom and stepdad were abusive and we moved around a lot. I spent several years living with my grandmother, who is my dad's mom, and she wasn't nice either. And my dad was a carny. So when I spent summers with him, I spent summers on the carnival, which is such a unique thing for a kid, right? And so I talk about this in my book. So, telling people my story throughout my life, so many people were like, oh my gosh, you should write this down. And I tried multiple times. My Google Drive is full of like drafts of whatever, but it just didn't feel right. And when I went to therapy after my dad died and I was talking to my therapist is actually the one that said, I think you have a book in you. And I said, I don't think I do. And she said, why don't you sit down and just write? And so that's what I did. And it really just came out. It just came out. And it was so therapeutic. It really was Little Mary. It was really her. It was just her saying, I finally get to tell my story. And yeah, I mean, that's really how it happened. I guess I owe it all to my therapist. I can put her a little note in the back of it at some point to thank her, I guess.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you started writing the book, did you reference like some of the older drafts, or did you kind of just start from scratch?
I started from scratch, and I wrote it too from the perspective of both Little Mary and the protector. So you really get to see like my mom and dad through Little Mary's eyes. Like you get to see why Little Mary loved her mom, and why she loved her dad. And you learn why I am the way that I am. And there were some things that I was not going to put in the book. And my husband said, you have to, even though it's going to be hard, like that makes you who you are. People have to hear that. And so, yeah, I'm proud of it because it really turned out the way that I wanted it to. It's written in very different than most memoirs, I think, just in the perspective of, the protector and Little Mary, and it kind of goes back and forth a little bit, which I think people could find confusing, but I don't know. That's the way I wanted it. So I'm happy with it.
Have you heard of, I believe the book was called, the little boy called It?
Yes, what is it? A child called It?
Or a child, yeah, it was a child called It. I remember reading that when I was really young too. Mm-hmm. And that book kind of reminds me of like the story you're telling. Is that kind of like similar in that sense?
I remember reading that when I was a kid too. I think I was probably like eighth or ninth grade. So,
yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's similar to that because I think that I think his name was Dave, right? I think Dave wrote his book and it was a little more graphic.
It was definitely more graphic than what you're describing.
I think what I did is I really tried to keep details out of it. Like you know what happened.
Yeah.
But there is one spot when I'm coming out of a foster home where I describe pictures that they had taken of me that my mom swears isn't me. Yeah. But other than that, I really, really tried to keep it pretty mild because I wanted to be mindful of people who were going to read it. I didn't want people to read it and it be something where they had to put it down, though I have heard that people still think that it's hard to get through. So I guess maybe any kind of abuse towards a child is hard to get through, regardless.
It was a lot to read. I read it in junior high and I was like, it really did. It made you sick inside, but you had to see how it ended. Like you couldn't just stop the book.
Yeah. It's amazing that he went through that and became the person that he is. It's incredible.
It really shows you like what you go through doesn't dictate your entire life. You have two paths you can take. And just like he did, just like you did, like taking that path to basically a better a better life, right? Like regardless of what you went through, it doesn't mean you deserve less than everybody else. It means that you're stronger and you can do better and you can get away from these things that we deal with in our childhood, and it doesn't mean your life is doomed. And then you have the other path where people play into the victim and they don't even want to like face it. They just want to dwell in it. And it's actually a really sad path to take. And it's really, I think something more people need to see is more people like you that like are pushing forward and doing better, always being better than your parents were, no matter what that looks like.
Right. Yeah. I have said many times, not everybody makes it out. And, and that's just the hard fact, right?
Yeah.
But if you do, and even when you're in it, you don't have to become it. So I saw my stepdad be horrible to our pets. Horrible. And I could have become a horrible person. And while I was in the midst of all of this, I was a real angry kid, right? I feel bad for my teachers. I was an angry kid. I threw books. I pushed over desks. I was just not a good kid. But I never turned into the type of person that would hurt an animal, that would hurt a person. I always wanted to, at the core, I wanted to be kind. I'm sure as a teenager, I was probably mean to somebody at some point. I mean, all teenagers are. But, I wasn't what I had seen. I think it's easy to become your environment, right? It's the nature nurture. You see people getting hit, you hit. You see animals getting, brutalized, you do that as well. So you have to make the choice not to do that. And it's hard work, but you make the choice. You want to be better. Like, who wants to go around being mean to people and to animals? Like, why? What a miserable, it's just misery over and over and over. And I don't know what it is about me. There must be something inside of me, right? Because it would have been so easy for me to fall into that. So one of the takeaways from my book is just, I actually say, you're not the shit that you're in. Like, you are more than that. So, when you feel like giving up, just keep going, reach as far as you can until you think that your bones are going to break, because you just don't fall into that trap. It's so easy to do, but you got to break the cycle.
We're tougher than we think.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
we are.
It's really hard to break somebody who doesn't give up.
It's true. I remember that my grandma, when I lived with her, and I lived with her from the time I was 8 till I was 14. So, those teen years, and really learning about yourself and who you are as a person. And she used to just tell lies about me. I don't know why. It's just who she was. She would say I was sneaking out of the house and I was doing drugs, and like, I was pretty mild teenager.
Considering.
I didn't try any kind of, substance until I was well into adulthood. So it just wasn't something that I was interested in doing. So for her to tell these lies about me just really set me off. And it set me off to the point that I was like, okay, you're going to say I'm sneaking out? Guess what? I'm going to sneak out, because why not? You're already telling people. So, I think that was part of the toughness, the not giving up, the like, okay, like, all right, I'm going to play into this and see where it gets me. It got me in trouble, but
sometimes we just take a bullet, you know what I mean? Like, you just gotta.
yeah, you live and learn.
Yeah. There's some battles that you're just like, I just need to let this play out. Like, it's almost going to make it worse when you engage too much.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure.
We definitely need to choose our battles. So what's your goal with is this book out now?
It is. It came out in September.
Okay.
Yeah, did it come out in September? Oh, the ebook version came out at the end of August, and it's done pretty well considering because in July, at the end of July, I had a very major spinal fusion surgery,
Goodness.
and I was still in recovery when the launch and everything happened. So it's done pretty good. So yeah, ebook came out in September, and then the paperback. No, I mixed that up. Ebook came out in August, and then the paperback came out in September. So,
Very cool. And it's doing really well. How are you promoting that?
I have been probably the worst promoter. So, considering that I work for authors and I do social media for them, that's really about all I did for myself was some social media, going on some podcasts. I'm like, oh my gosh, I do this for people all the time. How do I do it for myself? So that's really been it. Yeah.
You're getting there. You're getting
I'm
there.
getting there. Yeah. As long as it reaches people, I'm like, it's doing what it's supposed to do. So,
Yeah, it'll only grow. And it's just like the beginning, right? As soon as more people read it, they'll recommend it to more people. And that's kind of how it flows too.
yeah. Yeah.
So, have you always worked with authors? Is that what you've always done? Or what shifted you into working that way?
Yeah. So I started, I've always kind of dabbled in like website building and doing social media and stuff like that, but it wasn't until COVID, really. I was a preschool teacher, and I
Okay.
had been for, oh my gosh, a few years. I can't really remember how long, but before that I taught children with autism. So I had always been kind of teaching. But then COVID happened, we shut down. I needed to work, so I had a side gig where I was doing social media for a podcaster. And I was like, okay, well, I do it for her. Maybe I can branch out and start, making this a bigger deal. And it just kind of steamrolled. So I've been doing that since 2020.
And so is it all just kind of freelance work you do? You're not working for like an agency or anything?
Nope, I'm my own thing. I call my business the Merry Assistant, Merry. And it's really fun because I have 4 cats and they are the ambassadors of my business. So when I post on social media for them, it's usually one of them giving business advice. It's so cheesy, but it's so much fun because I get to play around with it. So, yeah.
That's awesome. If you have fun with it, that's great. So do you ever see yourself going back to teaching at all, or are you kind of just...
I think I'm done. For one, I don't think I could physically do it. Physically, I'm fine. I'm up, I'm moving, thank goodness. But because I have the fusion, I still have some nerve issues that have to be resolved. And I think that just the wear and tear on my body, I just wouldn't be able to do it. I do miss it. Now, the good thing is that my son goes to a private school, and I do work a few days a week at his school. So I do still get to see some kids. They're just not preschool, but well, some of them are preschool, but anyway, yeah, it's a different environment. I'm not picking kids up. So, but
It
otherwise,
gets
no.
the fix a little bit of getting to like have that
Yeah.
environment, but without the long-term daily commitment.
Yes. Yes. I really did love working with kids, from the group home with, profoundly autistic children. That was amazing. And then, working with preschoolers, there's nothing quite like it. It's very rewarding. It's a lot of hard work. I give a lot of credit to teachers.
A lot of energy.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you see yourself maybe like doing some like volunteer work and stuff just to kind of continuously work with kids maybe as your son gets older?
I don't know. I haven't really I hadn't really considered that. I mean, I like to volunteer. I was volunteering for an animal shelter, but then I adopted two cats. So that was, my husband was like, please stop. I adopted two cats. One ended up being pregnant. So had to keep one of her babies too. So,
Oh my gosh.
so that's how we have four cats. I still do stuff for the animal shelter, but like I don't go in anymore because then it's just like I'll take that one and I'll take that one. So yeah,
That
but
would be hard. I would take home so many dogs if I were
yeah,
at an
I
animal
mean
shelter.
the good thing is that it's mostly a foster situation, so there isn't, but there are, they'll get some in and it's like they need a foster home and I'm like, well, I'll take them. Yeah.
Oh man, I would have so much trouble with fostering an animal because like I wouldn't want to give it up after you make that connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be so
Yeah.
hard, and I'd feel bad because it's hard on them going. I mean, think about you in the care system, like going home to
Mm-hmm.
home. Like it's the same thing. Like they don't
Right.
they don't understand why nobody loves them and they
Right.
don't get to stay. So
Right.
I'd have such a hard time. I'd keep
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And it happens a lot. I mean, that's right. You hear it all the time about foster fails. So, of course, you know.
I don't know how people do it even with kids, like how you don't get attached to the kids and like not just want to adopt them all.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So, we need more people that are like that, though, that are
Yeah.
that are good like that. So,
Unfortunately, I feel like there's a lot of people that do foster care that shouldn't do foster care.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean,
It,
when I was in the foster care system, that was many years ago, right? Many, but it was just really bad. It just was not good. And I remember being in a foster home where there were far too many kids too. Like, why are there so many kids? I mean, I don't think I recognized it then, but of course now looking back, I'm like, why were there so many kids in this one, home? And yeah, there's so many things that could be said about that.
yeah,
That could be
I've known people growing up that like did foster care that shouldn't have did foster care. Like they're in it for the paycheck. They had way too many kids.
yeah.
The punishment wasn't justified most of the time. One lady was, I mean, she was obese before obese was like normal. So like she was big, like 350 pounds or more. She might have been more. She might have been like 400, but she was a big girl, and she would sit on the 3-year-old child as a punishment.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, insane. And then I was just like the kid across the street that had no idea like what the heck I was witnessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good.
No. So it sucks, but like the good people are usually the busier people that can't take on like that responsibility or have families of their own. And then you have these people that'll do it for a paycheck so they don't have to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, and it's funny because I actually talk a little bit in my book about the foster care system. And one of the things I talk about is that, there's so much shame for foster kids. We feel like we did something wrong often because we're made to feel like we did something wrong. And, I say something about how, it's these foster kids aren't given love without proof of purchase, right? Like you're paying this family to care for them. And while I get it, like not everybody is rich, not everybody can just take in a kid and yes, the government should be helping, but we need to be screening these people better because there are too many people who are like, they just see dollar signs. And which is insane to me because I'm sure they're not getting that much money. I don't know. I don't know how much money they do get. But any amount of money there should be some kind of, I don't know, like some kind of screening. I don't know how to do it, but
The sad
yeah.
part is I don't know if there's a right way or like a way to even do it to where you can restrict it and still get people to do, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I just don't know what would be the right way. I do think, like, I don't feel like our system checks up on foster care kids enough. They'll go to somebody's house that they're their kids and like check up on them there if somebody calls, but they're not checking up on these foster kids as much as I feel like they could.
No, I agree. I also think that um, because I know for sure when I was in the system, I remember the whoever they were to came to our house, and my stepdad, we heard her knocking on the door, and he like cornered me and was like, "You keep your mouth shut. You don't tell her anything." Like, and there was no like separation. Like, she didn't just talk to me. It was talk to everybody, or just kind of chit chat for a few minutes. She wasn't there long. Um, and that was it. Like, I think I saw her once. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know people say, oh, they're overworked and, whatever, but there's got to be some better checks and balances.
There's got to be something, some way to check up on these kids because it's not fair to like let them just feel so alone in a bad environment that nobody even knows is bad but them.
Right. Yeah. Well, and oftentimes they don't even know it's bad. I
Yeah,
didn't,
that's true.
yeah. I mean, I thought that just, it's interesting. I actually say this. Um, there was a mom that I used to, a girl that I had became friends with, and I would walk to her house and have breakfast. And it didn't start out that way. I would walk to her house before school, and they would be eating breakfast, and the mom offered it to me. And, everybody's sitting around, and I'm like, wow, this is wild. And so I had breakfast, and then I started walking over to her house every morning so that I could have breakfast with them. And it was shocking to me that there was a family that like sat and ate together, and nobody yelled at anybody, nobody threw anything. It was wild. And I was probably, I mean, I was probably 7 or 8 at that time. Like, how crazy is it that at 7 I'm walking to somebody's house to eat breakfast because I wasn't getting breakfast at home, and realizing, wow, it's not normal to be hit. It's just incredible.
Those
So,
those things that you witnessed as a kid though probably helped shape you into knowing that there was better out there, right?
right. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I talk about the kindness of other people that at the time I didn't realize. But you're right. Seeing this mom feed her kids and hug them and tell them that she loved them and waved goodbye to them, and nobody yelled, and everybody was clean, and it was just this family unit that I had not seen. And so I do think I carried that with me. And I talk later about the cat lady that lived across the street, and how she took in one of my cats that my mom and stepdad had abandoned. And I was like, you need to take this cat in. Please, please take this cat in. And she did. And then later on in the book, I talk about my English teacher who she would read aloud to us. And it was the first time I remember ever having somebody read to me. And it was so, here I am like in ninth grade, and somebody's reading to me. And it was, not just an English teacher, but it was a woman. It was a mom. And it felt so, I don't know. It was just like a burst inside of me. Like, this is amazing. And this is what I've been missing, you know? So yeah, I think you're right. I think you hit it. Those were lessons. And at the time, I just didn't know that they were.
But they stuck with you because they
Yeah.
made such an impact on you.
Yeah,
Which
for
is
sure.
cool to kind of think about. Like, yeah, our main environment is where we grow up, right? Whether it's like you're in the foster care, whether it was when you were with your mom, whatever it may be. But like those little interactions, even if they're just small little ones like breakfast in the morning, can make such a big difference on who you become.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there Is there any other plans like right now to kind of do anything else with this book? Are you going to write another book? Do you plan on going into like coaching and helping people? What's the next steps?
So, so I have a lot of things going on. It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild because I really didn't think that anything, I thought I was going to be one and done. Boom. And my therapist was like, no, you have more in you. And I'm like, no, 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 I don't. And then this might be tough. In September, a very good friend of mine, unfortunately, was taken from us in a domestic homicide. And she had a copy of my book, and she sent me a screenshot of something in the book that she said it just impacted her. And it was literally on page 5. And we were going to do a podcast together because she was also a virtual assistant. But she also, she was a virtual assistant. She was like, let's do this together, you know. And of course, with her passing, I was like, there's just no way I'm going to do this. And I kept going back to her screenshot. And the screenshot talks about grief and how grief is just messy, but also beautiful. And that you don't move through it, you move with it. And I thought, holy crap, my own words are back to, I just had no idea that my own words were going to be used against me, really. And so I thought, man, I can't stop. I have to keep going. There's more here. And so I wrote a workbook on grief, and it's called Dancing with Grief. And it's about, learning how to look at grief as a gift, and how, there will be times when maybe you're having a really happy moment with your family and you suddenly feel sad, and how grief is under every emotion that we have because it never leaves us. And what we're grieving never leaves us. So I'm like, okay. So I wrote this workbook. I have a friend who was also a mutual friend, who's going to do the illustrations. And where it's dedicated to our friend. And that's step 1. And step 2 is writing a children's book that is based off of my memoir. But in my memoir, I talk about Cat Lady and I talk about my cat. And so the children's book is going to be this cat and Cat Lady, and just kind of, found family, hope, resilience, a little bit of grief, but, happiness too, right? So there's some stuff going on. I feel like I'm going to have to start a podcast. It's not going to probably be a business podcast. I'm thinking probably dealing with grief because, I feel like she's telling me to. I feel like she's telling me to. So
why not?
So why not? I mean, yeah, I feel like if the muse is there, you use it. And, my friend believed in me. She was really the biggest cheerleader throughout all of this. I had a lot of cheerleaders, but she would literally text me every single day to see like how I was doing and how the book was coming along. And she bought the ebook and the paperback, and she was just like, so I'm like, okay, I got to do it. She believed in me. So
you got to do it. What's holding you back from doing it?
Gosh, I think grief, ironically enough, grief, it's hard. It's hard to deal with those emotions. And even though I know what it is, it's still, it's sometimes hard, but I try and take a minute and feel it and acknowledge it and be like, okay, this is what this is. Okay. So,
though, maybe just starting it might help with that grief. It might be the relief you're waiting for.
Right. Yeah, it's true. I mean, just like with my book, right? Like, sometimes it was very cathartic. So, Yeah.
It can make all the difference. If you need help getting started with one too, just let me know.
Awesome.
I think I've hacked on the most efficient way to run a podcast.
I love it. I love it. I also think that I'm just like, people are going to just think I'm dumb and they're not going to want to hear what I have to say.
You just got
And
to do it. I
yeah.
don't even know if anyone even listens to me. You know what I mean? But I'm going to just put it out there. I do
Yeah.
a lot of like social media posts too. I don't know who watches it. I just
Yeah.
post it. Let's see what
But
happens.
you know what? And as somebody who does social media, I always say that's all you can do because somebody is seeing it. Somebody is. They may not be, and you'll know because if you look at your analytics, you'll see that people
Yeah.
are seeing it. They may not be liking it, they may not be sharing it, but somebody's seeing it. And that's really all that matters because all it takes is that one person for it to impact, right? So I
Yeah.
need to take my own advice once in a while, but
You need to start it.
yeah.
I can tell you. So tomorrow will be episode 54. I started in December of last year with this podcast, and it was a slow start, and it was honestly a little rocky because I started this with somebody else. I don't know how far, like in the beginning, you've seen episodes, but I started it with Heather, and then it didn't work out, and I had to kind of revamp it and go at it by myself, which is fine. But it took a lot of work to kind of get it where I want it, and even just getting better at doing these, right? Interviewing and all that. It's skill and it takes time. So they were a little rocky. Like honestly, the first one that we ever didn't even get posted because it was just so terrible. Because we came with questions, it wasn't authentic, it wasn't smooth, and so just doing it and getting started is key. And once you get started, you just kind of get that momentum. And the first time you hear somebody go, "That episode resonated with me," or "This hit me for this reason," it makes all the difference.
Right.
And now I get a compliment on it. Like, I mean, shoot, a couple times a week I get somebody who reaches out to me and makes it like a genuine compliment, I guess, or comment of how it resonated with them. And that kind of keeps me with my why, because I started this because I want people to be able to tell their story, like your story. It's not it's not pretty, it's not perfect, it's not shiny, it's not exciting, right? No, it's messy, but it resonates with people, and that's what people want to hear, whether people think so or not. They don't want to see your perfect life on social media. Nobody wants to see that.
Well, and nobody has a perfect life. Nobody.
No.
Nobody.
No.
Nobody. You know, when my dad died, one of my cousins said to me, nobody gets out of this life unscathed. We are all messed up in some way or another. We just are. So,
and we don't
might as
see
well
behind
embrace
closed
it.
doors. Yeah. So it's great to give people the opportunity to tell their story, be vulnerable, understand that we're not all, like, we're all going through something. You know what I mean? Nobody's in it alone. What
Right.
you've went through, somebody else went through something similar. You know, like there are other people out there that are going to hear this and be like, oh, maybe I need to look into like getting help, or, you know, I've had those feelings before. Maybe I can understand better if I listen to what she has to say. Maybe if I read her book, I'll understand more. And those are the type of things that like I wanted to bring out of this. And then if you do one on grief, helping people with grief is huge, because a lot of people don't know how to deal with their day-to-day emotions. So
Yep.
you could change lives just by talking about the things that people do not want to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just like everybody has stuff, everybody has grief. We've all,
Yeah.
every single one of us. You know, one of the things that really helped me, which is kind of incredible and kind of also strange, is that so when my dad died, I was his only next of kin, which is, you know, why the sheriff came to me. And, you know, I had to go deal with everything. I had to deal with his estate, and my dad was not living, my dad was living in a camper. And it was gross, and I had to go and clean it, and I had to try and find, you know, paperwork and, you know, all this stuff. And it was, talk about disassociating, because I had to go to a different place because it was just so horrifying. And I went, on on Facebook, and I was a friend of mine recommended a Facebook group for children of hoarders. And even, I mean, I would say that my dad was probably a hoarder, but he was also just not taking care of himself, and it was just a mess. And I went to this group and, read other people's stories, and I don't think I ever posted, but I just wanted to see how other people dealt with it, and I wanted to not feel alone. And even in that sense, people were telling their story, and they helped me so much, and they don't even know that they helped me, but it gave me a little more courage to do what I needed to do, because it was hard. It was hard, and it was scary, and to go through someone's belongings, someone that you barely knew, and I just was desperate to find anything that could prove to me that he cared about me. And I did get my proof, but it was just so hard. So, like you said, telling your story in any capacity. So these people on this group telling their stories really just helped me out so much. So I think it's so important for people to do that and not be ashamed, because you're helping somebody.
Yeah, 100%. So I think you just talked yourself into starting your podcast.
There you go. That's all it took.
I'm that type of person. Like, if there's something somebody should do, I'm going to just push just a little bit.
I mean, I think it should too. So, it's just doing it, right? It's just doing it. Yeah. It's just jumping in.
It's just take the action, because it's messy no matter what. It's never going to be the perfect moment. You're never going to feel completely ready. You just have to do it.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
All right. So now I want to see your podcast out next year.
There you go. There you go. I hope so. I do. I hope so. I mean, I've talked to people about it. And so, I mean, I've told enough people about it that if I don't do it, then it's going to be like disappointment all around. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have a friend or somebody who would start with you, like with the first episode?
Possibly. I mean, I do have a few people who are like, oh, let me know and I'll help you out. So I think so. Yeah, probably. So
start it out that way and then do what I did. Throw it in. I guarantee you, just based on the people that have reached out to me about being on Messy on Purpose, there are plenty of people out there with grief that are more than willing to tell their story. So you just throw it out there, and I guarantee you'll be just as overwhelmed as I was this week.
Yeah, sorry to add to your overwhelm, but
No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good overwhelm. I love that so many people reached out, and I do think like you would easily be able to get yours up and running, be consistent with it, and keep it going, because there's so many people out there that would love to just share and just be a part of, sharing that grief and helping other people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. Is there anything else you want to touch base on? I know we did kind of a full circle.
I know. I think, I think that might be it. I mean, wow. Which is odd for me, because I could just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. But yeah.
We could just keep it going. I've done as long as 2.5 hours, so I know I can talk.
That's a lot. That's a lot. I'm curious though, where are you located?
I'm actually in Las Vegas.
Oh, nice. So it's nice and warm there.
Actually, it's colder now. It's in like the 40s.
Okay, that is, but warmer than here. I'm right outside of Chicago, so we're very cold, and we have
very cold.
Yeah, we have like 2 feet of snow. So.
Oh yeah, I'd seen that. So I'm originally from Iowa, like the Quad Cities.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm from that area. So yeah, I see their weather all the time.
Yeah, and you're like, huh.
Yeah, we actually moved from there to Denver. And that was a change, because it's like dry climate, so the winter wasn't as bad. It was kind of nice out there. Sometimes you could go out in your t-shirt. You can't do that in the Midwest, especially like even Chicago with the lake. Oh my God, it's so cold. And But then we moved from there to here, and now I'm just a big baby in the cold.
Yeah, I'm also a big baby in the cold. So why do I live here? I don't know. I mean, I do love it here, but it's cold.
It's cold. Yeah, I don't think I could ever go back. I don't know
Yeah.
if you could pay me to go back.
Yeah, it's wild. And, I have my three daughters are, one still in college, but her goal is to move to, she wants to live near Boston. I'm like, it's cold there too. And
Yeah.
then I have the other two are still here. So I don't imagine that we're going to move to Boston where it's colder, or just as cold. So I think that we're going to just be here forever. So I don't know. Maybe we'll buy a summer home or something.
Do
I
you
don't
think
know.
it's
Winter.
like because you moved around so much as a child that maybe you just like want to be home?
I think that's probably part of it. I think the other part is that I want to stay close to the kids. And I thought that, like, when they went to college, I would be like, okay, now's the perfect chance. We'll just go somewhere. But then I just, we're very close and they come home for, the holidays, and they, one daughter lives in Southern Illinois, so she will get like concert tickets. And so she'll say, I have concert tickets. Can I come and stay for a few days? And of course you can. So I kind of like the idea of just being like I said, the safe place, home, somewhere they can land. So I wish maybe I had raised them somewhere else, maybe.
You just need that winter home where you go somewhere where it's
Exactly.
nicer.
Yes.
Just take off. You already work remote. What does your husband do?
He's an engineer.
Oh gosh. Okay. So he has a little
Yeah.
tougher job.
Yeah, he does. I know. And he can't do it remote, unfortunately. So, and he's
Yeah.
been with his company since right out of college. So he's been there for a long time. So, that's
That makes
hard.
it
So
even harder too. Yeah.
yeah. So I know we're stuck.
You're stuck. So just vacations it is.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Well, do you want to round it out with kind of, some kind of last message that you want to share?
Gosh, I think maybe my last message would be kind of what I said earlier, which is you're not what you went through, and you can choose to do better and be better. And I think one of the things that I try and teach my kids is to lead with kindness. And so I think if we can do that, it's a ripple. And so we can at least change somebody else's life with it. So,
It's
yeah.
amazing what a simple smile will do.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
I miss that from the Midwest, actually.
Yeah.
You
Do
lose
you miss
that.
the miss? I catch myself because, you'll see those TikToks where they make fun of Midwesterners, and, and that, like, somebody will bump into you and you'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, oops, oh no, you're
Oh,
fine. Yeah, no, they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, and I'll be like, oh, no, 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 you're fine, even though they like ran into me. Yeah, whatever. I think.
the courtesy that's there and like the thought of others it's something that I haven't found anywhere else in the country. It's just like people are just generally nice. People smile at you. Here, it's 50-50 if people are going to smile at you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's real interesting here. You're right, because it's like you don't. Nobody's a stranger. You're standing in the grocery line, and people are talking to you about stuff, and I catch myself like, why are we talking about this? But okay, and you never see them again. But it was just this fleeting moment of two people who have no idea who each other are, but now they've made a connection.
And it happens to me occasionally here, but like it used to happen all the time in the Midwest, like all the time. You just talk to a random stranger. And I think it's just so natural to have a conversation that I'll start a conversation with somebody who really doesn't even want to talk to me.
Yeah, I know. It does. It happens. It's very, Midwestern. It's okay. It's not so bad.
No, it's a good place. It's just cold.
Yeah.
And a little muggy in the summer.
Yeah, it is. But I think we're in for a doozy of a winter because last winter was really mild. It was great. And no, it's bad now. So,
My sister's coming out to visit me in January. She'll like the break.
is she still here
Oh yeah, yeah.
in the
My whole
Midwest?
family, my husband's whole family are all still in Iowa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for Christmas, they come to you instead of you going to them.
Unfortunately, no. Nobody ever really
Oh,
comes to visit. So,
oh my gosh, that's wild. I would love
yeah.
that. I'll go, I'll come visit.
You can come visit anytime.
Sweet.
Just let me know. All right. Well, it was so great talking to you, and thank you for telling your story. I know that you've wrote a book about it, and it's probably not as big of a deal, but it is still a big deal to tell that vulnerable story.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun. So,
Yeah, and as you get your podcast up and running and all of that stuff, you'll have to keep me informed so I can listen in. If you
yes,
need a
absolutely.
last minute guest, I'll jump on. I'm good at winging
Sweet.
it.
All right. All right. Well,
But
we all have grief, so I'm sure there's something in there that you can talk about too. See?
there's something. I can come
Th-
up with something.
Yes.
Just might have to dig a little bit, but I'll come up with something. I'm a generally like happy person, so like I don't handle grief like most people, so I guess that would be a good way to
Yeah.
talk about it.
Well, it's interesting because I'm generally happy too. That's one of the things that like people are always like, "Oh, I can't believe you went through all that. You're so happy all the time." And I'm like, even when my dad died and it was such a, it was so horrible, I was making jokes in the coroner's office. Like, so humor. I mean, yeah, it's dark, but there's something ridiculous about one, the way that my dad died, the way that I found out. Now I'm having to deal with, all of this. Like, it's not funny, but it also is. Like, somebody could make a sitcom out of it and people would be laughing. So why not? Why not laugh?
Yeah.
Like, my dad doesn't care. He's dead. He doesn't care if I'm laughing at him. So
And
that's my
honestly,
take.
I think people who pass would want you to still be happy. And if that's how you deal with things, which that is how I deal with things, I joke about everything. In some of the worst scenarios, I can be the person cracking a joke that shouldn't be cracked. And
Yeah.
it's just how I deal with things. That's how I've always been. I'm very sarcastic. I'm very like, it's just joke about it. It's fine. That's how I cope.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And I don't think there's anything at all wrong with that. And that's how I handle things also. So,
and I think normalizing that's a good thing because I feel like a lot of people don't normalize that.
yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no right and wrong way to
No.
deal with it because everybody, you know, it's just like when you have, siblings and their mom passes away, each sibling is going to deal with it in their own way. It's going to be totally different. So, who are we to judge how somebody does something? It's just,
Exactly.
that's how you get through it. Get through it and with it and all around it. And,
Yeah, all around it. That's how we
I
figure
mean,
it out.
that's right. That's how you get to the next day. So that's what we're just trying to do here.
So start up
So
that podcast and I'll come on and jibby jabber with you.
that's right. Okay, perfect. I will get on it. I promise. You can even like email me later and be like, "Are you doing this?" Because I don't want to fail.
I'm going to put it on my calendar in the middle of January. You're just going to get a random email.
And then I'll be like, "Oh no."
But if you do need any help too, just let me know because
Okay.
I've got the strategy down on how to like everything. So I
I love
have
it.
this on every platform, and I only post it twice. So
All right. I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
all right. Well, do you want to hang out for just a second after we wrap this up and I stop it, and then we'll chat
Yeah.
a little bit, and then we good?
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Sure.
Well, until next time, guys. Bye.